Hello, I hope that this video finds you well. Today we're actually doing a figured painting with acrylics, and you can definitely incorporate this into your oils. So I first start with the shadows, of course, and I kind of just locate every single part of the body. She's actually facing to the side, as you can see on the picture, and that's the first thing that I want to put down. I really don't go with the face and details and stuff like that. I'm basically just adding where like the main areas are. And I did this with a little bit of yellow ochre, burnt amber, and a hint of pink, very tiny bit. It also has some green and yellow if you want to have or to get to know the palette. Not necessarily on that order, you can actually add the colors of your preference. I just wanted to do this because she's actually a Caucasian model. So I decided to use this. There's different colors or arrays of colors of skin tones. So you don't have to just do the same for everybody. You can actually do different ones for different types of skin tones. But of course, this is for perhaps another video with a little bit more explanation when it comes to that. So I actually was working from a photograph, and as you guys know, photographs are not easy. Why? Because of the shadow. The shadow issue on photographs is a big deal. However, once you have like the extremities painted and you know where is like the main body part, is easier for you to kind of just do this. So what you see here, that's burnt amber, and for me it's like an essential color, and I use it in my watercolors, I use it with my acrylics, I use it with my oils, I use it in all kinds of different things, and that's basically for my shadow. So I added that big yellow ochre with the pink and everything else into like my bigger areas, including the face, and then my burnt amber is going to be for my detail, basically for my shadows. So what you see here is marking with a yellow ochre in the same mixture. Basically I'm marking down everywhere where I see a shadow. Nothing, I don't use like expensive materials. This is whatever acrylics that I could find. I actually like more colors the better, and then just mix them together. Of course, you know, professional kind of materials will give you more viscosity as well as more pigmentation, but you can definitely do this with your whatever store that you can find acrylics. I think that we have to focus, if you were to do like parts and people and stuff like that, is to actually get where the shadows are. And I think that's with every subject, but specifically with people. I do have a bit of knowledge when it comes to anatomy, so I think that actually helps me to develop a keen eye when it comes to shadow and also form. What you see here is me adding that bone. It's like basically constructing the body from the inside out. So all the cartilage, where is the bone, where is femurs, etc., etc., I'm going to basically just mark them with a more commonly known color. I decided to paint them yellow also because her skin tone actually has some yellow in it. And I'm now basically just marking down the under her leg, and she had a very long legs. So what you see here is that basically this part almost couldn't fit into my canvas, and I was like, oh, I should have, instead of doing it like this, I should have put it on with a pencil. But the idea to do this is so you can create speed with your paintings or your sketches, and for you to actually enjoy it. Not all the time we have to be too picky. I think that getting or to be faster, you have to do these exercises and you will not be disappointed. If you're interested in the models or the people or wherever that I actually find these models or who they are, these are actually from Croquis Cafe. However, because I don't know, licensing or whatever, YouTube kind of just took them off because they were actually just showing like people with nudes, etc. And I don't know, But anyways, that's where I got most of my models. I actually had some books, and I necessarily don't have to do them naked. As you can see here, this model is actually covered and she had her underwear on. So you can basically just get a you can make a painting out of everything. Of course, you know, with imagination, you can do it as you please. For me, I think like the basic skills to create a human being or to do a human being is to really, really see the shadows and what do you want to emphasize when you're doing a creating a painting this way. One of the things that I actually don't put on my painting, and you can see it on her face, is that I don't do a face in there. I just do like an abstraction of a face, and I like to keep them that way because I just enjoy to paint that way. It was a little difficult because her leg is under her other, basically on her hip underneath, and of course, you know, I'm painting from a panel that really doesn't, it's not a canvas, or it's really not a big painting. So I try to stretch in the canvas, or I'm sorry, the panel. And then after doing all of this, I actually went in and I hide up my colors. This is all the colors that I use from the beginning with white. So that's what you see here. So I'm hiding up, I'm lowering down, I'm making my shadows, I'm making my lights. Basically about the same, I would say, as in watercolors. Just adding watercolors and colors, you're leaving the space white. So you see me in there. I had a little bit of a difficulty because one of her hands is actually touching the floor, and you can see through on her legs. You can literally don't, you can't see it much on the painting, but yes, on the photograph she's actually touching her legs. And I wanted to also try my best to create this. I actually took the liberty or the license or artistic license to make her a little bit more chubbier than it actually is, because I like my models meaty, and also because I thought that, you know, I really wanted to cover the entire canvas. So you can do, like, you can really transform something and make your own. I think that even if you're working from a photograph, but not to put down exactly what you see. I mean, you know, some people love it, some people like it that way. In my case, this is a good practice because it allow me to actually gain speed. The brushes that I'm using are for acrylics, and these are bristle brushes. They're kind of like hard to the touch, they're not really soft. That's something that a lot of people don't like. I really like that painterly feeling in my canvases, in my brushes. So I really like where the bristle is actually touching the canvas and is leaving those kind of bristle touches. And what you see me doing here is now we're literally going high up, highlighting. And yeah, she was blonde, so I just dabbed some yellow and I created her hair, and I use a little bit of the same burnt umber to create some shadow. That's basically her other arm, and even though you can hardly see it on the painting, it is there. So I have to actually create it with my brush, and you can see that I highlighted her hand that is a closer to me. When you add highlights, also makes the basically the subject a little bit bigger. So when you're picking up speed and you're doing this type of paintings, you notice that, you know, less is better sometimes. I keep them, and I like to keep them a little bit more on a simple side rather than actually applying a lot of color, a lot of detail. And it will allow me to not only have speed, but to create many and plenty of the same painting. So an exercise like this, it took me in real life about half an hour or so. And what I did is that I just created a neutral background, something light. I really wanted to reflect light. And you can do this on your with your own paintings. I believe that I was on call that day, so that's why you can't see me painting. But you know, I just wanted to emphasize that this is sort of like an idea for you to create your own work. I feel like we have to, of course, see other people how they're doing their things and then go on and do your own. Never compare yourself to other people. What you see there is that I actually showed a thing of Manuka honey that I was actually drinking. These videos are actually transferred from an app that is called Periscope, and these videos are actually made live. So a lot of things could happen in the midst of it. I can get the phone, sometimes the phone rings, sometimes my boss is calling. If it's not my boss, it's my partners or my what's it called, my husband. So I do have a lot of interruptions, but you know, my important thing is to actually learn what to do. And now what you see me here is I'm adding my last shadows, and that's basically a concoction that I make with every single dark color available. I don't like to just put black on my paintings. So what I do is that I mix a hint of black with a hint of burnt amber, burnt sienna, some blue, and you create this really dark, rich, uh, dark or shadow. And the reason why I do this is so I don't have like just a plain black, which is a bit for me a little bit boring, and probably seen a lot of artists doing this. Again, I went a little bit high up on her face, just a touch of pink basically, and I try my best to just do kind of sort of like a face, but not really. And so the same color, I kind of just placed it everywhere because I want some, I don't know how you call it in English, but in Spanish it's like congruencia in all the in the an entire picture. I want the picture to have the same colors all over, and you can do that with landscapes. Basically, it's just adding the same color and repeat it. Not necessarily that it was necessary or it was essential for the painting to be finished, just repetition because it is, after all, a work of art. So I think that is important, and this is my own opinion. Of course, people do things differently, but it is important to kind of just repeat itself, and to have that almost like a traditional way of doing things, and that's the way I have done it. And you can see that I repeated all over the same color I put, and also of course, you know, I added the pink because that means that it's fleshy and it's less muscly, more flesh. That's what I'm trying to also let the viewer know. I went back with my yellow color. I like to use pure whatever, a la prima, whatever you want to call it, color, and I just take it with my brush, and just the same, basically out of the tube color, I put it and I place it on the canvas. And I like to have my yellows, my blues. I like to have my colors as it is. I don't mix much. Sometimes it depends on what I'm doing, of course, but for something like this, I feel like simplicity, like I said, is better. So I know some people don't like these type of brushes because they're actually very stiff, but I actually enjoy painting with these brushes, and I also paint the same, or I actually like to paint with these brushes. I like to paint in oils as well. Not these brushes, but I have my own oil paint brushes, and I have my acrylics, which is actually pretty much similar. And what you see me here is just giving that blue tone. I really like I said, very neutral, not neutral, but more on the cool zone, a little bit more pale blue, which is a little bit more calmer. And you can definitely, like for me, this painting will definitely go on my restroom or on a place where